Welcome classes. How are you doing? I always say the same thing on my videos, so I'm trying to start them differently. So you need some unusual supplies today. You have 6 different pencils in your bag. So you need to get all 6 of these pencils out. With the blue pencils, you can see the difference written here on the end or the cap of the pencil. And then we also need our ebony pencil for today. You have a worksheet that says properties and characteristics of 6 art intro pencils. That's in your worksheet packet. And if you don't have it from some reason, I attached it to the page in the bulletin board, and you can print one out from there. An eraser and a pencil sharpener would probably be nice. I also need you to have it. I showed you a picture, 6 different just kitchen utensils. They can all be forks or not, whatever, just a little bit of difference to make it interesting for you. And it'd be nice if they had some details on them here and there. So that's what you need to gather for today's class. So we have, this is mostly what we're up to, but I need to talk to you first before we start it. First of all, what we did last time is I told you a very silly story, and then you drew some kind of line illustrating this story. And then we did some lines that showed a motion that we were purposely designing. And the whole idea is what is a line? This is one of those things artists love to talk about. When we're discussing line, is it, what kind of a line is it? Is it a straight line? Is it long? Is it short? Is it a series of long lines, a series of short lines? Are they heavy lines? Are they light, delicate lines? Are they wiggly? I mean, there's so many options here. And the idea is to include this kind of intuitiveness, this special essence of yourself. You're competing with a computer, and a computer doesn't really think on its own. It does things it's told to do, including there's apps for making lines look more interesting. But anytime you can throw some extra emotion or something else you're telling at the same time you're saying something, it's going to make it that much more personal, that much more you, that much more unique. And that's kind of what this whole idea of line is all about. Now, before we get started, just a little bit of information about pencils in general. We have what's called the hierarchy, A-R-C-H-Y, of pencils. So the pencils, there's a reason they have P-E-N, I can't even spell today or talk, P-E-N-C-I-L-S. The reason why they have all these numbers is because of how much lead they have in them. Actually, the contents is actually graphite. Inside these pencils, they're called graphite pencils because of them. Believe it or not, graphite is about 500 years old. They've been using it. Before that time, they actually wrote with silver. Maybe they even wrote with actual lead. They would, draw with things like charcoal and so on in ink. But pencils are a little bit recent. The reason we have this whole series of pencils is actually Napoleon's fault. They were discovered in Europe and then in England, and they became very popular. This graphite stuff is pretty cool for drawing with in the 1500s. It was spread all over Europe, and then there's a big war. And with war, sometimes supply and demand's kind of hard. They're not trading because there's armies fighting in the way. So graphite was hard to get. And so what they did is they would put filler in it, which was clay. And so as you got more and more clay in with your graphite, it would pack in tighter. It would hold together, be more compact. It would draw lighter. And you would have more control. So the right in the middle of this line right here, we have things called HB, which is kind of a middle number. And then we start having B pencils over here. And so on. And then coming here towards the H pencils, there's a pencil called an F, nobody ever uses, an H, 2H, 4H, 6H, 8H, and so on. There's actually, they have the odd numbers too, but usually people, this is close enough, they don't usually buy the ones in between. and so on. So when you have an H pencil, it has clay in it. It kind of has filler, but it's fired tighter, so you have a lot more control. So people who would use this type of a pencil would be people like engineers and drafts people and so on. Most of that's done on the computer now. My father was an engineer, and he would use these types of pencils at work every day. Now the B pencils have more and more graphite, which means it's darker, it's more expressive, and it's looser. It gets a little messy. When we get up to these really dark pencils here, they kind of smudge and smear all over the place. These over here are very clean. So they have different properties. So an artist, these high numbers up here, artists use these. We'll put the ebony is somewhere around the end here. There's also an 8B, of course, and more. So an artist uses these darker pencils. Also a draftsperson, if you go to Home Depot and they sell these ginormous pencils for men to mark on wood with when they're building, that's usually a pretty dark pencil. So the pencils I've chosen for you to use in class, we have a 2H, we have a 4H. You can kind of get used to how those H pencils work. We have a 2B, a 4B, a 6B, and an ebony. So we have a range of traditional pencils that artists tend to use. When we have these yellow pencils, by the way, they're kind of like your standard basic pencil. They're either going to be an HB or a 2B. They're somewhere in the middle. They're usually kind of soft. And that's why when you take a test and it says you have to use certain types of pencils on the test, because if you use a lighter pencil, it doesn't show up. Anyway, that's kind of how pencils work. It comes from, Napoleon messing up Europe, I guess. And anyway, it came out that there's, it's kind of nice to have different types of pencils to use. So we can draw all kinds of different lines. We can choose pencils and mix it up even more. So with my 2H pencil, I can draw an even lighter line, but it can be interesting and change and stuff, but it's much more subtle because of the type of pencil I've chosen to use. So for a project in class today, we're working with this worksheet. In the past, we would use, we'd use Matchbox cars for this, but I don't have hundreds of Matchbox cars to pass out. So I'm just trying to think of a common thing you would have in your house. So I decided we would use utensils. So what we're going to do, first of all, you need your name. Mine is Mrs. Rouse. And then you're going to find the name of the pencil. Here's a 4H pencil, and it has a little explanation there. So I find my pencil. It says 4H here on the end of the cap. Then I'm going to choose one of my utensils. It doesn't matter which one. Let's see, I'm going to draw this spoon first. And what I'm just looking for is a little bit of detail. To start off your drawing, you could do, I'm kind of doing some mapping right now to get my drawings. How do I start a drawing? Just don't overcommit on a drawing. I want to draw the spoon. I'll probably draw it a little bit shorter than it actually is so I can include some details. So I would say what we're going to do is we're going to go through the different pencil. So you check the pencil. In each square we're going to be drawing a different one of these utensils. So here's my spoon. I've changed its location. Now it's going to go like this. I've made it a little bit more kind of stubby than it actually is. I'm gonna, because it has a round part, I'm gonna have a little bit of shading. You'll notice that you can't blend and smear as much with these lighter pencils as you can with the other pencils. I'm including some of the details. This one doesn't have too many details, so I'm maybe gonna take the time and do a little shading. Now the shading, I'm just holding it very, very still and drawing what I see. So don't, if you're moving it around, you're going to change the shading completely. So I would say we're going to work on these drawings about 5 minutes. So depending on how long it takes you to get the shape in there, I was okay with my shape. And then, so I'm going ahead and starting with my drawing. Now I'm using a lot of hatching. You don't have to use this technique. However you prefer to do it. I'm just adding some darks and lights because I have a little bit of extra time. So after you spend about 5 minutes on on your first one, you know, I'm drawing with the 4H pencil in the 4H box. Then I'm going to switch to a new pencil and draw another one of my utensils. So it could be nicer than that, but you're getting the idea. Let's say I want to draw this sharp knife. It says 2H here. Now you're definitely going to start feeling a difference between the two pencils. So I'm going to start by kind of lightly drawing my shape, and then I'll go back and refine it, make it a little nice. And like I said, I'm going to draw them a little bit chubby just because. So my 2H pencil is actually a little softer than my 4H. And they also keep their point really nice. A lot of you will probably end up preferring your 2H pencil, and other people will probably prefer the 2B pencil. It's kind of just like, which one do you like the best? So I have my basic shape here. I could erase things and change things if I want to. And then I'm gonna, because I have a little bit of time, I'm going to add a little shape. Now there's different ways to draw and sketch. So I like to draw kind of loose. Like I said, if you're more of a careful artist, that's perfectly fine, and that probably is a good thing. So just however you're comfortable. We haven't talked about techniques yet. We're going to do that actually later this week. Start talking about drawing techniques. So just kind of do the best you can. Find the shape as best as you can, and then just keep working with your drawing until you spend about 5 minutes on it. So that's what I'm doing here, kind of finding things to draw. And then, let's see, that's a little bit darker here, so I need some, I'm going to work through and darken it there. So I'm just going to work my way through this sheet. Like I said, I make sure 2H pencil goes in this box, you know, the 2B pencil goes in this box, 4B here, 6B here, ebony here. Spend, you know, 4, 5, 6 minutes on each drawing, depending on how you're liking that drawing. Don't go too fast. You don't have, if you have plenty to draw, and I happen to choose a couple that weren't as complicated. Let's say I'm drawing this one and it has all these details. So maybe in this particular, what's my 2B? In this particular square, maybe I didn't do shading because I spent a lot of time adding all these little things that are in here, right? So that would take me more time. So like I said, it's kind of a time thing, and how, you know, spending a certain amount of time with each pencil, getting to know each pencil. I think it'd be kind of nice if you put a little star on the ones you liked a lot. Let's say I'm okay with 2H, but I really like 2B, so maybe I'll make a happy face. So if you want to comment or something on things you liked, you're going to find, wonderful as the ebony pencil is, it's a little harder to work with when you're doing details. So don't forget about your friend, the pencil sharpener. So that's what we're doing the rest of today. It might take you a little bit longer than the end of the period. Like I said, spend somewhere from 4 to 6 minutes on each one, depending on how hard it is for you to draw, and just choose a different utensil for each drawing, and kind of enjoy getting to know the different pencils and what they do. And they're going to find that they're really different. Like I said, look for the number up here at the bottom of the pencil. So it's kind of one of those assignments you have something to do and you do it. Like I said, I don't know how to draw a such and such. Well, you know, draw it really light. You know, this shape here really doesn't look like this yet. You know, so I have to change that, and I have to change some things. But you just get something down on paper so you can get started, and then you refine and fix it and so on. So that's my encouragement to you there. And you're just going to get better and better at drawing. So you have to just try and kind of get these things done. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. I hope you enjoy this assignment. A lot of people do.